All right, we can go ahead and get started. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are dialing in from in the world. And welcome to today's webinar presented to you by InfoTrust on e-commerce best practices for data-driven marketing using Google Analytics. A few logistical things here. The webinar will run about an hour, a little less than an hour, hopefully. And we'll be recording this session. We're recording right now, so for full disclosure, if you ask any questions or post any comments in the chat panel or questions panel for GoToWebinar, I'll be monitoring those throughout the webinar and repeat a question and answer it as we go. Feel free to post in there whenever you like. Hopefully at the end of the webinar, we'll also have some time for questions as well. If you have any audio or visual connectivity issues, let me know. We can see if we can try and resolve it in the webinar. Otherwise, check out the recording because again, this is being recorded, will be uploaded to our YouTube page, InfoTrust YouTube page, and shared out with all the attendees. And lastly, feel free to check out our website for upcoming events. We have these types of webinars all the time on various different topics, infotrustlc.com/events or taginspector.com, where we have tag management related events and topics as well. So without further ado, we can get started on today's topic around e-commerce best practices and using Google Analytics. We've presented on this topic several times before, and we do numerous types of trainings for various organizations. So if you've joined one of our webinars before or seen our content, a lot of this will be similar, hopefully with some fresh insights as we continue working and innovating our processes. And Google continues to innovate their product and processes as well. My name is Amin Shaki. I'm the Managing Director here in the Middle East for InfoTrust. We're a web analytics consulting and product development company. We have offices in the US, in Dubai, and in Spain and Europe. We're Google Analytics certified partners as well as certified in Google Optimize, Data Studio, AdWords, and soon in the Doubleclick stack as well. And we do these types of programs all year long. We work with some of the largest CPG, FMCG, media, and e-commerce retail companies in the world, supporting over 4,000 sites annually across our global teams. Both on the technical side, strategy, as well as in insights and analysis, we do it all. And today we're going to focus particularly on talking about e-commerce and retail, the value, the opportunity, particularly in MENA, which is an emerging market. More organizations are taking their businesses online and selling online. So we want to talk about the value and some of the expectations, if done right, how you can drive value within your organization being data-driven. I'll talk a little bit about specifically Google Analytics and the e-commerce reporting capabilities and some examples and processes that we've implemented that have worked. A little bit about the shopping funnel that Google Analytics can provide and some tips and tricks around that. And then closing with best practices and use cases as you're getting started. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the opportunity and start just to give a little bit of a sense on the scale and what you can do or what you can expect when doing data-driven marketing using Google Analytics. So this is a quote from one of the senior partners at a group here in UAE about e-commerce market sales and the growth pattern that is to be expected in UAE alone. Across the whole MENA region and other emerging markets or even mature markets, e-commerce is on an upward trend dramatically. Lots more investment and consumer acceptance. I read a study recently, I don't have it listed here, that in the United States, for example, physical retail stores are closing at an alarming rate in the double-digit percentages, but e-commerce businesses like Amazon is growing in the triple digits percentage-wise year over year. So e-commerce is definitely booming, growing, and that's where consumers are looking to buy. And as marketers, understanding consumer interactions online and what type of data you can collect to modify your online practices can drive a lot of value. So I wanted to start with an example of how one of our clients that was interested in being data-driven, they're an e-commerce company here in the Middle East, Mom's World. We helped them implement a really enhanced data architecture and bring in multiple data sets together, analyze, and try and improve their conversion rate. So the goals here was to increase online sales, lower cost of acquisition, and drive the bottom line. I'm sure if you work for a e-commerce business or your organization sells anything, these are common goals: increase sales and lower cost. Now, our approach with this e-commerce business initially was to revamp their implementation of analytics, specifically Google Analytics, and using their enhanced e-commerce capabilities, and get a really strong foundation for data collection so that we can make good decisions, accurate business decisions. It's better to have clean data, no data, and is better than having bad data. Making decisions on bad data can be detrimental for your business. So we always start with a solid foundation first as part of our approach. Then we integrated some of their channel spend data that doesn't get tracked or isn't captured on the website directly, but from their different systems like Facebook, AdWords, Criteo, and other advertising platforms. And then we built some customized remarketing campaigns for re-engagement, helped them analyze the data that we were integrating, and the results speak for themselves. As far as the opportunity here, before being data-driven, Mom's World had a certain e-commerce conversion rate and volume of orders and purchases, and after re-implementing and cleaning up their data architecture, using the information that we help them glean from combining different data sets together, pulling in spend and cost data compared to revenue data, and really driving insights using Google Analytics enhanced e-commerce, we were able to increase their conversion rate, total number of purchases, revenue, and more specifically, or the highest impact, was return on ad spend. First, getting visibility into what that return on ad spend was, and then driving a dramatic increase by eliminating non-performing campaigns that were wasting marketing spend and cost, and only investing and focusing on those campaigns that are working, or improving the ones that have potential, and launching new similar campaigns targeting new audiences that are actually the ones driving more engagement, more purchases, and repeat purchases across their lifetime. This was a Google case study, so when we share the slides and the recording over to you, feel free to check it out. Goes through in more detail exactly what we did in the approach, and that's what we'll also cover in today's webinar session. So hopefully the first two sections give you a little bit of background that we know what we're doing with the clients that we work with, and also the opportunity that you and your organization can take advantage of once you have proper data collection and the reports in place. So let's talk a little bit about how GA can help drive some of this e-commerce revenue and increase in your conversion metrics. Before any kind of analysis or implementation or data collection work, we always need to take a step back and ask the right questions and build a measurement strategy or measurement plan. What are the key things that we want to measure that can lead to action? Being data-driven is more than just getting dashboards every day or looking at numbers and how your volume of traffic regularly. It's actually acting on it. Craving data, looking at the data only to drive actions, that's what it means to be data-driven. So the first and foremost process most organizations that we work with go through and that we suggest is asking questions about what marketing activities you are running and what you can control and what can you update. So for example, one question to set some of the KPIs and things you want to measure are what marketing channels bring the best customers and drive the most value, or get users to go through the shopping funnel. What type of messaging and creative has been working in the past that we can continue, and what has not been working so we can eliminate or reduce investment in. This is a good question to kind of frame what you should be looking at and what actions can be taken to improve. Another question could be which devices are best for driving conversion versus awareness, or which ones are causing issues. Maybe your site's loading very slowly or poorly on mobile, and that's an opportunity to grow. If you have high volume of sessions or users but low conversion rate compared to your desktop site, maybe there are some learnings there. So understanding that that's a question you want to identify and dig into can set the stage for what you should measure and what reports you should analyze in GA. Where are users dropping out of the shopping funnel? Common e-commerce question, how can we improve or optimize our checkout process? And finally, all about products and content and really merchandising on your website. For many of our clients that are large multi-brand organizations, they sell hundreds of thousands of products or have lots of different content that they can display to their customers. Which ones makes the most sense to display? What order should the products be shown? What promotions should you be offering on the site? All of these different questions are good to set the foundation to know which reports and which insights you should look for in Google Analytics to answer these questions and actually drive action. Again, I'm going to repeat myself a couple times here, but data-driven is all about driving action. Sometimes it's about capturing less data or looking at less reports to focus on what you can actually change, what is within your control. When we work with organizations, we often don't look at things that are a little bit out of the digital marketing realm or long-term fixes, such as price positioning or the types of products that can be built by the actual organization, but more on what changes can we make to improve the conversion rate online. So being really tactical here on what you can change. Doesn't look like we have any questions, so we'll continue. And for the majority of this session, I'm going to walk you through some example reports and processes that you can consider or bring into your organization to be more data-driven. So as an e-commerce business, with Google Analytics, you can track orders, revenue, and completed purchases, of course. But you can also bring in your spend or cost data, as I mentioned before. And what this allows you to do is unlock metrics and reports in Google Analytics that will show you return on ad spend, return per click for any channel outside of just your Google platforms. So of course, when you integrate Google Analytics and Google AdWords for your business, in GA, you'll see the on-site interactions like sessions or purchases and revenue. But you can also bring in impressions, clicks, and costs and unlock these metrics in GA like return on ad spend. But there's also a capability that is not used as much as we think it should be by organizations that we work with or talk to, which is importing this impression, clicks, and cost data against other channels, other sources of traffic outside of just Google AdWords or Doubleclick. For example, Facebook or Bing or Baidu, Yandex, depending where you are in the world, different regional advertising technologies or search engines. In those systems, you most likely have your impressions, clicks, cost metrics, but they're external to GA, and you might have multiple data sets that you're working with separately. Well, there is a capability in GA to bring it all together to automate that importing and see return on ad spend side by side. In the case study that I explained earlier with Mum's World, this is the process that we went through, was make sure tracking was really done well on site to capture revenue accurately with higher than 95% accuracy compared to the backend order system. And then also integrate Google platforms as well as the cost data from other channels. And by doing that, we were able to see return on ad spend side by side. In this particular example I'm showing here, one clear insight is even though Facebook has lower volume of sessions, lower cost, the return on ad spend is nearly double any other channel. So perhaps the decision here is to invest a little bit more in Facebook, even just the same campaigns, see if you can maintain your return on ad spend percentage and just drive the bottom line. Instead of investing on those channels that might bring in volume but not a lot of conversion, bring in or invest in the ones that have high potential to bring conversions and ultimately drive your bottom line. The last thing I want to touch on is that the import process to bring in spend, click, impression data from non-Google platforms like Facebook or Bing, etc. There is a manual process in Google Analytics to import this data, but there's also an API that you can leverage. And we've actually built a tool ourselves called Analyzely. It's a data integration platform that automates the process of bringing in the cost or spend data from these external channels, or really any data from any database into Google Analytics to enable this automated reporting right here in GA. Now from here, you can also pass this data on to BigQuery and Data Studio and do all sorts of data science type of work, which we'll touch on a little bit later on in the slides. But typically what we recommend is using Google Analytics as a central collection point to power downstream systems. So that's all about measuring value, return on ad spend, and one of the key best practices for being data-driven, and one of the easiest things to implement and drive a lot of action, since marketing advertisement is usually within the control of any organization and can be changed rather quickly. Of course, another best practice is to go beyond just the basic page views or content that users are viewing or how they're navigating, to actually measure interactions. What are people clicking on? What products are they interacting with? Are they zooming, looking at multiple pictures, scrolling on the page? What videos might they watch? Are they clicking for discounts or coupons or adding promotions? You know, all these different user interactions are important to track in Google Analytics, so you can really understand where are the friction points, or what are my users actually doing, and what is valuable to include on our website or mobile app so that we can continue driving orders. So what I'm showing here is just a basic example of the events report in Google Analytics with one of our clients that has pretty clean structure as far as organizing all of their different types of events, whether they're loyalty actions, CRM, coupon. This is for an organization that mainly sells offline. They're an omni-channel, so many of their customers come to access rewards or coupons, etc. So we want to understand which type of coupons, which type of rewards are most important or used most often, so that we can promote those more, drive more conversion again, and eliminate any interactions or promotions or things on the site that are not driving the bottom line. Again, simple way to be data-driven: understand what users are doing, encourage more of the type of actions that drive more orders. Now, with Google Analytics enhanced e-commerce capabilities, there are reports that show you even deeper information about your user interactions with your products, specifically for e-commerce, and your online merchandising, how your products are displayed, how users interact. I have a lot of text on this slide, mainly just for reference, but to summarize, the enhanced e-commerce reports in Google Analytics can show you how users are interacting with different product lists. So if you're a large e-commerce organization, or you have lots of different products that can fall into multiple categories, users can interact with different products in different ways on your site. They can see a product on multiple lists. They can see it higher up on the page or immediately when they load a particular category page or list, or they'd have to scroll to see it. And question always comes up: which product should we display first? What order should we show them? Which lists do they belong in? Which categories make the most sense, etc. So in Google Analytics, there is capability to track where products are seen and which ones get the most engagement that ultimately leads to a purchase. And that's in the product performance reports or product list performance reports, which is what's shown here in the screenshot. This will show you, once implemented, all of the places that your products can be shown, or your lists, particularly if a product can fall under multiple categories or be searched for. You can see how many times a product is viewed versus how many times it's actually clicked on your site or app, the click-through rate, and then ultimately what happens after. Does that product get added to cart and then purchased, or is there an abandonment where users might see a product but not actually feel compelled to click it because it might not be what they were looking for, might not belong in the right list, or it might have been too high on the page where they scroll right past, or too low on the page where not a lot of people see or feel like it's a top product. So this report is designed to give you that kind of insight. Now, what we always suggest is to always implement product impression tracking or when products are seen by users via a scroll-based mechanism, meaning when a website loads, if there's only 10 products shown, but there's 100 products on that page, you shouldn't send all 100 product impressions immediately when the page loads. That's kind of the standard implementation practice. But we have set up a way to only send the first 10 products that are shown. And then as users actually scroll, fire those impressions for when products are visible on the screen, in-app or on the website, both. That's a little bit more accurate tracking for which products are seen and which lists get product views as well, to get a more accurate click-through rate as people actually engage with those different products. Okay, no questions. Another really important report that we use often with our clients is the internal promotions report. So again, a website serves as another way for customers, website or mobile app for that matter, serves as another way for your customers to access information about products, but also engage with different promotions, discounts, or offers you might be providing to ultimately have them convert and make a purchase. So Google Analytics has special internal promotion reports that work very much the same as the product list performance report I mentioned before, where it can show you how many times a promotion is actually seen, visible to a customer, how many times it's clicked on, and if ultimately it leads to a transaction or some revenue. What's interesting about this report is that the way we've implemented it, it's the same as products where it's scroll-based or view-based, meaning on your homepage, most e-commerce businesses have a sliding banner carousel on the homepage highlighting certain products or certain offers and promotions or seasonal discounts that customers can take advantage of. When we work with organizations, only fire those impressions or views of different promotions or content banners when it's visible to the customer. Even if it's on an auto timer in the carousel, only when that banner becomes visible do we want to capture a view. Or as they scroll, if you have promotions near the bottom of the page or in the middle, that's when the view happens. To, again, understand better which ones get the most clicks when seen and have a more accurate click-through rate. This report's really useful and also influences offsite promotions and campaigns that can be running on different channels, not just digital channels, but even external channels like TV or radio, because we can understand what are the promotions that are really resonating, getting a lot of engagement on the web platforms, and maybe we can push those offline as well to see if it drives an uplift in purchases. So internal promotions is another really powerful capability that you can use in GA for enhanced e-commerce marketing decisions. Another capability when using Google Analytics that's really powerful is segmentation and audiences. So Google's done a lot of work to build a cohesive platform across all their products with all their integrations. So Google Analytics automatically integrates with AdWords, and if you're using GA360, it can also integrate with the Doubleclick platforms, including Doubleclick Bid Manager, which with those integrations, you can build targeted segments of users based on perhaps what interactions they're doing, as explained earlier, how much spend they've already costed you, potentially, what products or promotions they've seen or clicked on, or what they're interested in. You can build segments to target them, build segments in GA, pass them as audiences to your advertising platform, AdWords or Doubleclick Bid Manager, and send targeted ads accordingly. Now, retargeting remarketing is not a new capability, but what we've seen oftentimes is there's still a lack of using all of the really powerful segmentation capabilities in GA to have really niche or targeted audiences of your key or high value, high opportunity customers. Not only that, Google has launched in the last year their A/B testing and experimentation platform, Google Optimize. That also integrates with Google Analytics Standard, but with Google Analytics 360, the premium enterprise version, you can also pass these segments or audiences to Google Optimize. What this allows is for a seamless experience for users that come to the site, get added to an audience as they see other ads, as they continue throughout the web or search on AdWords. They can see specific ads based on their interactions with your site. And when they click and land on your site or app. They can also have a customized web experience or experience with your platform that matches the ads that they've seen and the audience that they're a part of or what their interests are. And I'll show that here in 2 slides, kind of an example, and walk through that flow. One other capability, again, that is used but not as often as we feel it could be, are lookalike audiences or similar audiences in AdWords. So if you're using Google Analytics with AdWords and you're passing the data between the two, you can build a really targeted segment for those users that are interested in particular products or promotions or interacting with your platform in a certain way that would categorize them as high value or high opportunity. Perhaps are users that have registered for your loyalty program but not purchased more than $100 US, which you would glean as not a high profit or a high value customer yet, but with opportunity. They've signed up, they've used your system, they've bought some products in the past, but you want to re-engage them to come back and continue purchasing and increase their order size or average basket. You can create this retargeting audience, obviously to retarget them, but also build a similar audience to say target new users that have never been to our site but are very similar to this very key audience that we have already had come to our site and that we're remarketing to. So you can essentially market to new people who are really qualified, looking for the same things as your current leads and customers. Very powerful capability when you're using Google Analytics and all the robust data tracking that you can have passed over to AdWords and other advertising platforms. So if there's one slide that can summarize how to be data-driven or some of the opportunities with using Google Analytics well, it could be this one here. This is just to paint the picture of user journey or how you can really maximize using data to power different activities. So what this is showing is as users are engaging with different channels and platforms to reach your site or mobile app, and you're collecting data from them in Google Analytics or from your backend system. With this integration, you can get a really holistic view of your consumers or your channels, the spend, the return on ad spend, etc. And from here, of course, you can build models, run insights, dashboards, etc., but then power remarketing, both externally in those advertising platforms I mentioned before, or even pass this data to your emails or CRM campaigns specifically, SMS, etc. With this integration with your CRM platform, you can personalize it even further, ultimately to bring them back to continue purchasing and grow their lifetime value. And with this red logo here, this is Google Optimized, you can even personalize our web experience. So it's a seamless integration between what they're seeing on their retargeting, their CRM messaging, the ads that they get exposed to, and your site as well, specifically to what could work best for them or what they're most interested in. All powered through Google Analytics and the data collection with enhanced e-commerce. I wanted to throw in here just a quick example of Data Studio, because this is a ever-growing popular tool that Google built. It's free. Google Data Studio plugs in with Google Analytics and multiple other data sources to build really beautiful and simple dashboards for top-line metrics. I wanted to show an example here of what's possible with all the different filtering drop-downs, because what I mentioned before is about doing some deep dives into the data and understanding and building insights, driving action. But of course, for your managers or top management, they might need some high-level KPIs and metrics just to make sure everything is on track or growth is there. So Data Studio is a quick and easy tool to put together once you have that foundational tracking in place, where you can compare different channels, campaigns, and which ones are driving the most sessions or conversions, etc. here with certain drill downs as well. So I want to show just an example of what we've done in the past using this data as kind of a separate, once you have the process to act on certain data, still visualizing and sharing that data with top management can be done with this tool. The next section I want to talk about is some of the funnel capabilities in Google Analytics rather quickly, because I think there's a lot of content around these capabilities. And Google Analytics, there used to only be one way to visualize where users might get stuck on your platforms using goal flows and goal funnels. Now with enhanced e-commerce, you can have the full funnel displayed where users enter, how they're progressing through, where they're getting stuck, the abandonments. And you can use this data to understand certain characteristics that are causing users not to go all the way through. And again, being data driven, always thinking about what action can you take. If you notice lots of users are dropping off between the product views and the product add to cart, this could mean that your product detail pages need to be modified. And then you can drill down even further to see which specific products have been added but not, or sorry, have been seen on the detail page but not actually added to cart, or you can target specifically those abandonments. So the consumer journey capabilities here, this is automatic with enhanced e-commerce. Once you have it in place and implemented on your site, these funnels will become available for you to visualize the flow. There's 2 automatic funnels that are ready to be populated when you turn on enhanced e-commerce for high-level stages across your entire platform, or specifically through your checkout steps. If you have multiple steps in your checkout funnel, you can have those displayed as well with high-level metrics, total volume of sessions across each stage, drop-offs across each stage, percentages. And what you can do from here is analyze time over time as you make changes to your different stages or checkout flow, if there's improvements in the percentage of users progressing between the different sequences. I mentioned the product performance report earlier. I wanted to show a little bit more drill down into this, and why I included this in the shopping funnel section is because the product performance report does give you some insight into the funnel at a product level. Because the metrics that are shown here answer the question like which products are viewed the most or have the most exposure, which ones are getting the most engagement, so not only seen but actually clicked on or added to cart, versus which ones are actually converting or causing or resulting in a purchase. So these metrics are really useful to drill down. Again, if you see in your shopping funnel at a high level that most of your drop-offs go between product detail views and add to cart, you can then use this report to see if it's only specific products that are seen quite a bit via marketing channels, SEO, social, etc., getting a lot of exposure and people to those detail pages, but the pages themselves might not be convincing enough to push to add to cart. Or perhaps the add to cart functionality is broken for certain products, or on mobile it's not clear how to add to cart, or there's a lot of requirements before the user can successfully add to cart and continue through. This report lets you drill down into the specific products that might have issues along the way between different stages or actions that can be taken. One thing I do want to point out here are these 2 metrics at the end, which are automatic calculations by Google for cart to detail rate or buy to detail rate. Now, what the cart to detail rate essentially calculates is the number of times a product was added to cart compared to seen on a detail view or detail page. This is useful because if you see the percentage is extremely low, you can investigate why is this particular product getting a lot of views but not being added to cart. Or if it's quite high, you can say out of the majority of time that this product is actually seen, it's actually added to cart quite frequently. For example, this here, Google 22-ounce water bottle, the cart to detail rate is nearly 80%. That means more or around 80% of the time this product is seen on the detail page, it's actually added to cart, which has to mean that this product page is really clear and simple and working properly, or the marketing that's done offsite to bring people to this page is really clear and accurate as well. However, the drop-off rate, which is the buy to detail, is significantly lower. It goes all the way down to 22%. So 80% of people are adding this product to their cart, but only 22% of those that saw the product are actually buying it. So something must be happening in either the checkout steps or on the last stage where users might see the ultimate cost, there might be a lot of taxes, or something happens that's causing them not to ultimately buy, even though they're adding a lot of the time compared to how many times they're seeing it. So again, I got down a little bit specific into this report just to explain how to be data-driven from it. Again, identifying these percentages and these numbers can glean action. In this case, review the last page of the checkout sequence. Or if you see really high detail view, low add to cart, check out why your add to cart button might not be working or people might not be engaging in it. So always thinking, what can we do from this data? What action do we take? Really, that's where it starts to be data-driven. The last slide I wanted to share in this section is the funnel reports that are available, and particularly if you're using GA360, you're a large enterprise that has the enterprise version of Google Analytics. The funnels I showed earlier, as I mentioned, there's only two standard ones. There's one that shows you the progression from visit to detail page to add to cart to checkout to purchase. That's the shopping behavior. There's only 5 stages that's stuck, cannot be modified. Then there's one other standard funnel, which is the checkout behavior for your checkout steps. However, with GA360, you can create custom reports with custom funnel steps. In these custom funnel reports, if you have, maybe you want to visualize not just the purchase funnel, but the sign up or registration funnel. As users enter your site, there's a sequence of steps that they have to take to become a member first. You can visualize this data in Google Analytics by showing how many people might enter your site versus go through the first step of the registration process, the second to finally order confirmation. Or if you have multiple different platforms that have different checkout sequence of steps, you might want to capture in one single property at the highest level people that enter checkout and purchase with your standard report, but then build a custom report for each customized checkout flow. For some of our clients, we know that based on the type of customer or type of device used, the checkout steps might get merged or modified. So the custom funnel reports, one per checkout funnel, is most useful to see progression. Also, from a content perspective, we often work with e-commerce businesses, content teams that want to know, is my landing page actually driving orders? Where the landing page is not technically part of the shopping flow or the checkout flow, but we can build a custom report to show users that land on one specific landing page or a group of landing pages, do they click, ultimately go through the checkout steps, and then purchase? So you can see that sequence of steps as well, even if it's not directly related to e-commerce actions or checkout flow or shopping behavior. So hopefully that explains a little bit of the value using custom funnel reports to visualize sequence of steps that users can take. This is a GA360 only capability, as a quick reminder, as of now. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up the webinar here in about 5 more minutes with a few more slides on just best practices and our recommended approach. We've shared these before on other webinars that we host, but really as a kind of a recap, first and foremost, having a plan, wish list, and requirements mapped in a single place, gathering feedback from all the different stakeholders and end users that can actually drive action, not just the analysts, but also the marketing teams or the e-commerce teams, the product teams, etc. Understanding their requirements and what modifications they can realistically make on your e-commerce platform. Listing all those together, getting that blueprint, that's the starting point. From there, we recommend implementing the tracking required to measure those wish list or KPI requirements. From a technical perspective, we always start with an audit. Even if it's a brand new e-commerce platform that's launching, we audit how the flow will be, the designs, the user steps and interactions that can be made. Or if it's pre-existing, we audit to see how's tracking in place today. Does it give you the right visibility? Is it accurate? Does it map to the KPIs and wish lists that we've created? And what questions can be answered currently? From our perspective, that's based on the audit requirements, understanding really the business needs and what actions can be taken. That's when we design the implementation, leverage a tag management system, and then we phase out the implementation if we need to. Most organizations have developers in-house or outsourced that have a humongous backlog of tasks they need to accomplish. So we phase out the key critical fixes or implementation first, usually going backwards, starting with getting conversions, purchases, or user signups as the first thing that we set up tracking for or enhance. And then we go backwards to checkout flow, product interactions like add to cart, detail views, and then finally capture things like on-site promotions or extra user interactions that might not be directly part of the e-commerce flow or key actions users take to purchase. Document everything, test away, and then deploy. Now, as far as maintaining data quality, this is a really big problem that we've experienced with a lot of the larger e-commerce and online businesses is maintaining the integrity of your data or having data quality ongoing beyond that initial implementation or setup and design. Testing repetitively daily can be a really time-intensive, time-consuming task where internally at InfoTrust, we built a tool called Tag Inspector that can help automate and audit ongoing the data collection. It almost serves as a regular monitoring system to make sure that the data structure and collection that you've implemented on your website for your e-commerce platform continues to track properly and there's no data loss or unauthorized data collection from other third-party tools. There's two parts to Tag Inspector. We have a scanner crawler tool that will go to a website, crawl each and every page to make sure tags and pixels and the data collection is done properly or continuing to flow. We usually set these up on a daily reoccurring. We also have a Tag Inspector real-time capability, which is essentially our own tag or pixel that sits on the website via tag management system and listens to all user interactions, not just a crawler we send out, but any user that comes to the site, clicks on any action or goes through the checkout process. It will monitor what they're interacting with, what data is being collected in order to make sure that data accuracy is maintained. Again, if there's site changes or anything that can cause any of the data to stop tracking properly for even a small percentage of your users, our tool is constantly monitoring, checking, and validating the data collection in order to alert the business, hey, there's been a change and suddenly we have a data gap. And the point is to minimize any kind of data collection gaps using Tag Inspector instead of implementing everything, investing a lot of time and resources into initial setup, but then not checking the data or not realizing data might have stopped after a release or some change for some time. Tag Inspector is sitting in the background ongoing auditing and monitoring of the data collection so that we can minimize and eliminate any data gaps and preserve your data quality. So I really emphasize with all of our clients, we use Tag Inspector or some kind of ongoing in the background data monitoring and auditing tool. In Google Analytics specifically, you can set up some custom alerts to also track spikes or dips in traffic, but we use this mainly to get alerted if there's a major loss or major increase in key conversions or key metrics like orders, revenue, conversion rate, basket size, etc. Because this is a way also to be data driven in the most basic form. If you get an alert, your platform suddenly had a spike in orders day over day or week over week, you can immediately jump into GA, investigate what changes caused this spike and how can we do more of it to maintain the momentum, maintain the orders, and again, act on the data that's being automatically analyzed and assessed for you by GA. So the custom alerting capability is really powerful to be able to act quickly from just the process that Google is doing in the background, maintaining your data. So to wrap up, I want to talk about how to get started. There's several steps that we have gone through over hundreds of implementations to refine, starting with stakeholder alignment, understanding your standards, the KPIs, what needs to be measured, and how what actions can be derived from these measurements or the KPI and the strategy that you implement. Putting together the scope, the project plan, allocating resources, and then communicating, testing, and training. I mean, really, we have a project process guide that goes into detail for the sequence of steps from a project management perspective, how to roll out an e-commerce implementation project. Looks like there's a question. Good question. So I'm just going to repeat the question for the recording and for everyone on the call. Is there a video on our YouTube page on creating a custom report checkout flow? Good question. I'm going to answer that in two ways. The quick answer is I can get back to you. There should be at least one video on our YouTube page that shows high level the checkout funnel reports, how to use them, how to manage them. It might not go into very much detail on customizing the custom reports for funnels, customer funnel reports. My second answer is feel free to ping me separately on this and we can potentially have a conversation, because the custom funnel reports you can build in your customization tab. When you create a new custom report, there's a tab within there that says custom funnel. And then the logic within the custom funnel reports is sort of laid out. I don't actually have it here in the slides, and I'm not sure if we have a detailed video on YouTube, but in the custom report builder, it takes you through how to set certain options and what stages you can put to show every single sequence here in this funnel. So for example, and what I'm showing here on the screen, the rules behind this custom funnel report could be simply show me all sessions, because this is a session metric, where users reach the shopping bag page. So the rule for stage one could be include page containing whatever the shopping bag page is. Let's say /page or /bag, shopping bag, sorry, /bag or /cart. So it'll contain or show here all the sessions that reach that particular page. The next stage, when I add another stage behind the rules or in the rules of this report, I can say include all sessions that reached page containing /delivery for the delivery page. Maybe page isn't the best dimension or rule to set up. Maybe you have an event for every step of the way. If you're capturing an event in Google Analytics for when users reach the shopping bag or click to go to the delivery page, etc., you can also set that as the stage rule itself as well. That was the high-level answer. We can circle back to see if there is a YouTube video on our channel describing this in more detail, but otherwise feel free to reach out to me. I'll show my email and contact information at the very end here. But good question. Really, our last slide that I wanted to share is kind of our approach typically that we take. So if you're thinking about starting an e-commerce project, or you've already started and you want some insight on how it's done, our best practices, what we've done for over hundreds of different sites, we start with reviewing and building a scalable, flexible architecture. We implement the analytics and integrate all the technology, set up the ongoing monitoring. This is where the confirmation of the data quality is set up initially, as well as ongoing moving forward. And then we move on to training enhancements, data insights. Once you have confidence that the structure is scalable and well done, everything is implemented, all the data has been approved or checked against backend systems, etc., that's when insights can really happen. Again, to my first point, it's better to have no data than bad data and make the wrong decision that can be detrimental. So really, the training enhancements, data insights only comes after confirmation of data accuracy from the work. So that kind of summarizes it with a few minutes to spare our best practices. Of course, if you have any additional questions or want to continue any of the topics, I'll hang around for a couple minutes to answer any questions. Or you can feel free to email me directly. My email is shown on the screen here. Of course, I also encourage everyone to join our future events, infotrustlc.com/events. I posted in the chat pane, or check out Tag Inspector. Again, Tag Inspector is our proprietary tool for data validation, but we have tons of events about implementing data architectures or how to validate and test data collection and best practices around there as well. So I posted a link to Tag Inspector on our chat panel as well for you guys to check out. So with that, I'm gonna open it up for questions and hang around for about 3 to 4 more minutes before we close up the webinar. But otherwise, if you're gonna drop off, thank you so much for joining. Hope this was helpful, and we'll follow up with the recording and future events in a couple days. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording for now.